Hi boys and girls, it's Rosemary, and today I'm going to be showing you how I painted this cute little narwhal. Is he adorable? I found out, never knew that what a narwhal was, and I recently found out it's called the unicorn of the ocean. So it's like a dolphin, I guess, with a horn. And the narwhal is called the unicorn of the ocean. Now, those of you who picked up your kits at the library, you can follow along with the way I painted it, or you can do it in any way that you choose. Mine is a guide, just to show you what I did, but it's up to you how you want to paint it. So when I paint, I start with the lightest color. And even though the belly is white, I still paint it with a white acrylic. If you left it like that and you tried to seal it, it might turn yellow. So you always should seal your areas with an acrylic paint when you're painting. Nothing should be left without the acrylic on it. You don't have to paint inside, but everything else should be painted. Okay, so I'm going to start with his belly. Now you have some brushes that I gave you, some complimentary brushes. If they're not good and you want other brushes, you can get them at Michael's, or Amazon has other brushes also. So I'm just painting the white acrylic nice and smooth. See, I don't put too much in your brush. Some people have a tendency to pick up a lot of paint in your brush. I pick up a little and spread it out as far as it will go. If you have too much paint and you can't smooth it out, it will dry with the ridges in the paint, and you don't want that. Okay, so you want to make sure that you pull your colors out to the right, to the left, however it looks nice and smooth. Okay. So I'm just going to do one coat on this, and if you want to do two coats, you can. You can let it dry and do a second coat. And you should have a water bowl and some paper towels always in front of you, which I don't have any paper towels, but I think I can do without them. So swish my brush in the water. I never bang the brushes down in the bottom of the bowl. I say this on every video that I do. Just swish them around. And then you should have your paper towel to dry it, because you don't want to have a lot of water in your brush. For each color that you put in your brush, if there's water in there, the color will run. So now I'm going to do the rest of it in the blue. Okay? I thought it would be cuter than just trying to do a gray. Oh, you know what? I was supposed to do white under the wings. I forgot that. So you'll see, I'll go back and I'll touch that up. I'll do the blue now. Very gently around the edges. So when I'm trimming, I start out away from the edge, and then I work my way into it. Flatten the brush and just scoop it around, and then smooth it out. You don't want to have any big lumps of paint lying on the surface that when they dry, you can tell that you didn't pull the color out, and it will be with a lot of ridges in the paint if you don't smooth it out. So nice and smooth. See how easy it was to go around that? As I did that first, and then I will do the rest of it. Now, I went over the eyes. You don't have to do the horn, but we'll go over the eyes because I didn't want to do the eyes in black. I just felt like it was too harsh. I mean, if you want to, you can use a marker, a Sharpie, to do your eyes when you're all finished, if you want it in black. But I used the purple, the lilac, the violet, whatever it's called. That's what I used to do the eyes. Now you're going to be painting this whole piece except where I missed underneath the fins. I guess those are his fins. And I'll go back and I'll put some white on there. I also gave you a sponge. The sponge is going to be used to do all the little, see the little sponging that I have on him? That's how I did that with that sponge that I put in there for you. So nice and smooth. Put it on, pull it out. Don't dip for more paint until you have that nice and smooth. I know that a lot of you, are watching this on my YouTube channel, which is under Rosemary Ceramics. I mean, you can subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. And whenever I put a video up, I think you get notified. I'm not sure. But I have over 50 videos on YouTube, so if there's anything you'd like to know, this goes for the parents and for the children, you can watch some of my other videos and get some ideas on how to paint, different techniques, dry brushing. I do a lot of dry brushing. This piece doesn't lend itself well to dry brushing because it's smooth areas. and that's why I did the sponging. It's easier to dry brush when you have something that has a lot of crevices. It's a lot harder to dry brush on a flat surface. It's possible to do, but it's a lot harder to do. And especially the children, I don't think they could handle that. I just have enough trouble with the adults handling it, never mind the children trying to dry brush on a very flat surface. So I'm almost done. And you should always do underneath. I'm not going to take the time to do that right now, but I was always taught that a piece is never finished until the bottom is done. Okay, so you should always paint your bottom, and you could also use a Sharpie to put your initials on it later, put your name on it, date it, and if you have it for a lot of years, you'll know when you made it. I still have pieces that my children painted many years ago, and they're in their 50s now. One is anyway. So I'm doing his tail. And, you know, if I was doing this for myself again, like my sample, I probably would do 2 coats, but you don't have to because you are sponging color on top of it. But if it looks a little light, you can go back, and I usually say spot check it. Take it, you know, and take a look at it from all directions. And make sure that, see, if you put the paint on properly, it's dry already. I don't have anything on my hands. If you glob the paint on, it's not going to dry for you. Okay. I'll do a little bit more over here. This is what I mean about spot checking. I'm going to go around and take a look now. So then I want to go back and I want to put the white underneath the fins. So again, I swish my brush in the water, I blot it out, and I'm going to go back to the white and paint white underneath his fins. And I pull it from the inside to the outside. This way you don't, if you go this way, you're going to get it all over his body. So go from the in to the out. You get that? Okay, and because I put some blue on it, I'm probably going to need 2 coats on some of those areas. Some paints cover with 1 coat another color, but some you need a couple of coats. Okay, I have some on there. All right, you see over here, there's a little bit of the blue still showing. So if you have, you know, you have the time to let it dry and go back over it again. I'm going over it right away, which it's not dry, so it's not really covering. It wasn't too bad though. Okay, so we have the base coats on. I call those base coats. We have the blue on and we have the white on. And now before we do any detail, I think we should do the sponging. Okay, let me just touch up this little spot here. Now your sponge should be damp, not dripping wet. So you take your sponge and you run it under the faucet or put it in water and wring it out really, really, really tight. Okay, and what you should do is blot it on a paper towel to get all of that moisture out of there. So it's just damp sponge because, again, the paints will run if you don't take that water out of the sponge. So I'm going to put a little bit of the purple. Now I did the purple. I sponged the purple on, but you can sponge the pink, you can sponge the green, you can sponge whatever you'd like. Now, you have a little square sponge that I gave you, and it's got like a lot of nice little holes in it, so you want to find a spot that's nice and open on that sponge, and put your color in there, and not a lot, like blob it out a little bit, pat it out, and then just very gently, can you see that? Go around, and don't pounce hard. If you pounce hard and you make a big blob, you can always go back and put the blue back on it again. And I didn't do it on the white. I just did it on the blue. And like I said, if it gets on there, just go back and touch it up with the blue. But 1 dip of the sponge into the violet color is all you need. Okay, it did the whole piece. I didn't have to keep dipping my sponge back in the color again. Put enough on there. If you get it on where the gold is going to go, it's okay. The gold will cover it. Okay, can you see that? Oh, put them up a little bit. See that? All around the back. Okay. I'm going to have twins here. So now put your sponge in water right away if you want to keep that sponge, because as fast as the paint dries on the piece, it dries in the sponge, and then you'll never get it out. So again, put it in the water, wring it out really tight, and kind of blot it. Okay? So now I'm going to do the gold on his little horn. And you can do whatever you want on this. If you want designs on it, you can do that. I painted some flowers. I'll show you how I did those. But first I'm going to do his horn. And I never start right up against the blue or the next color, because if I have too much paint in my brush, it's going to bleed onto it. So I start in the middle of the horn and work my way down to where I have to edge. Start in the middle. When there's less in your brush, flatten your brush out and just scoop it around. If you have too much paint in the brush, it will bleed onto the other colors, okay? There you go. And that's done. That takes 2 seconds. Again, swish my brush in the water, blot it out. Now, I'll show you how I did my flowers, and I did them in pink and green with a purple center. So, this is my pink that I used. Yeah, I think I'm going to use this pink. Okay, so now I tell you, you use the back end of the brush. You use the handle of your brush. Now you have 2 brushes that have 2 different size handles. The square brush has a smaller handle, I think, than the pointy brush. So use whichever one you like. And I call these my 5-dot flowers. So what I do is I do 2 dots next to each other, almost touching, but not quite. And then I do 1 underneath it in the middle of the 2. And then I have the right amount of space on either side to put 1 dot on either side. And that gives me somewhat of a circle. Okay? A little bit off because I'm doing it backwards. So it's 1, 2, 1. And if you notice, if you don't dip again, your dots get smaller and smaller. Okay, so I'll do 3 flowers. 1, 2, 1, and then 1, 2. Okay, so I did 3 flowers. My dots are close together on the flower, but I have a nice separation between the 3 flowers. If you put them too close to each other, it's going to look like a dotted piece, and you're not even going to recognize the flowers there. So I'm going to rinse that. And I'll see if it's dry enough to put my little purple dot in the middle. And it's all done with the back end of the brush. This one can go over here. Close up my colors when I'm done so I don't accidentally spill them. All right, so now you're going to take the purple on the back end of the brush and put a little dot right in the center of your flowers. And it's okay if it overlaps a little bit. See that? All right. Now, as far as your green goes, you can also do that with the back end of the brush. And I made little leaves. Close this one up. Okay, so you see those little leaves on there? Let me show you how I did them. Lighting sometimes puts a glare on the piece, but put a little bit in your brush and go right up near the flower and just pull it to a point. See if I can get closer and show you. Okay, so you put the brush down and you pull it to a point. You can see what I'm doing here. Just elongate it so it looks more like a leaf. Okay? And you can do as many as you'd like. Usually I do 3s, things in groups of 3s. Okay? And if you want, you can make some curlicues if you're able to do that. I didn't do it on this one, but I'll show you on this one. You put the green in your brush, with your pointy brush, and I always roll it to a point before I go to the piece. And do some little squiggly lines coming out. Okay, I need a little bit more on my brush. see those little squiggly lines I put? Put a couple of lines on the bottom and around the flowers. And again, you can do whatever you'd like with that. You also can put a pink line in his mouth, and I did do that. I had forgotten all about that. When we have the pink out, get my pink out again. You have your colors all in this strip of paint that I gave you. I'm just working from the jar lids because we need so little of the paint. So now you put a little paint in your mouth, in your mouth, yeah, in his mouth. Don't put that in your mouth. They are non-toxic though, they won't hurt you, but I don't think they taste too good. And if you notice, I go from one side toward the middle and then the other side toward the middle, okay? I'm going to do that in there. And purple eye. Go get my purple again. And like I said, if you want to do the black eye, let everything dry and let it, you know, a couple hours or the next day, go back and do the marker. Now I do my eye by starting at the top of the lid. It's hard to do it and show you how I'm doing it. I start at the top of the lid up here, and then I try to make a circle coming around. Okay, there's one. And to make it stand out, I put a white highlight in it once it's dry. That's the two circles that I did on his eyes. And then I take my white. I don't know if I can do it yet, it's a little wet. And just do a little white highlight on his eye. And that'll make it stand out. I kind of think it's kind of cute with these little purpley eyes. I didn't want something harsh on there, so that's why I didn't do the black. And that's how fast he's done. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So I hope you enjoy painting this little narwhal. I think he is adorable. He's one of the cutest pieces we have this year. And everything is ocean themed from the libraries. They tell me that that's the theme of the library summer reading programs, I guess. And that's why I'm doing a lot of narwhals. I think I've had orders for over 100 narwhals this season. So he's been a popular piece, along with sharks, you know, a couple of other things, whales, everything ocean themed. So I want to thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy painting this little guy. And if you have any questions, you can always put a comment on this YouTube video if you'd like to get in touch with me about anything. And like I said, if you subscribe, you'll be able to see every time that I post a video. So thank you so much. Enjoy your summer.